boys and girls, it's you again. It's me again. How are you? Today we got a fun one. So what you see here, this is an intake manifold from a Pentastar. This would apply to any Pentastar, not just the Promasters we do, but it is particularly egregious problem on the Promasters because of how the thing is designed. Although it should be noted, this intake manifold, and this is called the upper, and this is called the lower. The lower has the fuel rail and the fuel injectors. These are all the Pentastars are basically the same. A couple of minor differences in the upper intake for the Jeep and for the rear-wheel drive vehicles, but basically all the same, and certainly the function is all the same. Now this one, you'll notice, appears to have been cut open. Why? Because in the Promaster, because there's limited under hood space and possibly because of cooling, they want to keep the engine cooler, they do not put a top engine cover, that cosmetic engine cover, on top of the motor. And that allows water to get into these two holes, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. And what happens is those bolts corrode and you can't get the upper intake off. You'll find a video on this, if not a few videos on this, on the YouTubes. And it is quite problematic because if you can't get the intake apart, you can't check, you can't get the coils out, you can't get the plugs out, you can't do a compression check, you couldn't get the valve covers off, lots of stuff you can't do. So being able to get this off is a big deal. Now for years, I have advised people as soon as they buy a Promaster, whether it's new or used, to shoot some grease down these two holes and in an attempt to make it a little bit more, keep the water out and keep corrosion intrusion to a minimum. You'll notice, very important to notice, that there are 7 bolts that hold the upper onto the lower, and all of them are easy except these two, because these two live in these wells. And the water collects in there, it rusts the bolt head. I'm going to show you that specifically because if you have a Promaster, you're almost certain to run into this problem. Or if you're a shop that works on Promasters, you're almost certain to run into this problem. So let's see if I can show you what I'm talking about. The manifold sits like this as you look at it in the vehicle if you're standing in the front of a transversely mounted Pentastar. And you can see down that hole, quite corroded. Now this is one of my vans, not a customer van. I wouldn't be sawing apart a customer van. You know I wouldn't do that to you. But we were in a hurry, and I have probably 15 upper intakes lying around from various engines and various things. So we just went ahead and took the Sawzall to it and cut it, which allowed us to get to the lower bolts and take this out as an assembly. And I had another fuel rail and I had other injectors. You know, it wasn't a big problem for us. But for you and yous guys, it may be. So I come up with a solution, which I'm about to show you. Okay, the solution is in this little box. This comes from Amazon of all places, as you would expect. What most people would do in this instance, if they didn't saw the manifold apart like we did, is drill this thing out. But I saw a YouTube video where the guy used a die grinder, used a deburring bit like this, and that seemed to work very well. And I think this will be less destructive. It'll be less likely to damage the manifold. This was maybe 20 bucks. It came with 5 different bits. They all are similar, and they all have fancy names that I don't know. Like that's a bit that has a name, that shape. This dainty one might be where I start, because as I film this, I've never done this before. But I know I'll have to do it again because I've had to do it in the past. There's a medium-sized bit. So 5 different bits of various, 4 different bits? Am I a bit shy of a load? I am. Look at that. I guess I got 4. Okay, 4. Whatever. 5, 4. Who's counting? So those are those. What I added to this procedure was this, which came very cheap in a little stick of little roller bearings. Probably a 10 in here. And that's a ball bearing race, but not a ball bearing, a needle bearing race. And it should spin nicely. And the bright idea, my bright idea here, I guess I'm going to start with this one, is that a few of these bearings will fit down onto the shaft of this rotating thing and act as spacers to center this in the hole, because if you were just to come down here with a drill bit, you're going to drill to the side of it, and certainly the drill bit is going to skate off the center of the, because it wants to go to the path of least resistance, not the path of most resistance. The other part of this puzzle that's going to make this work is that, which is a pneumatic grinding tool, a right angle grinder basically, which hopefully will make this process work. I shall now assemble the device. This will either lube it or we'll all catch fire. All right, well, it worked, but I declare it a failure. So the general idea works. These bearings are too small. The bolt wells, it's too hard to show you, but the bolt wells are bigger. I would have been better off with different size bearings. They make these in a variety of sizes. I mean, Amazon, and these were literally like $6. What are you gonna do?
Got the 2-stack bearings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small
so
one on
if
the
you put the
bottom.
big one, it falls off.
Yeah.
But you put the small one, which helps, and then the big one, and then I've just been dropping it down, and then using the screwdriver to keep it from bouncing out, and trying to center it, and then just going, and just taking my time with it. Remove a little, blow a little material out. Remove a little, blow a little. Yeah.
Groovy.
And I got it rocking back and forth. I'm close. But I just got to get enough of the head loose that it'll break off.
All right, here I have shown you the Amazon page for the deburring set. And here is the Amazon page for the small bearings. And here is the Amazon page for the larger bearings. Okay, you lumpy little hippies, this is what we're dealing with here. These are those bolts as they, when they do come out. And what actually is going on here is these are a proprietary, so far as I can tell, Chrysler bolt. And you can see that that one is starting to corrode. And they have I don't know what size that is offhand, probably a T25 or smaller, Torx head in the bolt, and it's an 8mm bolt regardless. But when they rust badly, they rust. The first thing to go is the inside there, and the rest is a thing. What's unfortunate about these fasteners is that they are not standardized. They are $4 a piece from the dealer. And as you saw in the video, the ones on the side generally seem to hold up okay, but these ones, and those 2 bolt wells where the water collects, that's it, and you're done. That one would start causing problems and so on. Well, okay, there was the magnificent splendor of drilling out the manifold bolts in a Pentastar bolted into a Promaster. How exciting. Promasters only, Barberton, Ohio, promastersonly@gmail.com, and so on and so forth. You know how to get a hold of me. You know where I live. You know what I want. Love you. Bye.